Whispers from the Void. The holographic display bathed Admiral Nera Vega's face in cold blue light as she studied the latest reports. The Alliance flagship Celestial Aegis hummed softly around her, its massive engines keeping station at the edge of the Proxima sector. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence. 3 outposts gone silent in 6 weeks, she muttered, scrolling through the data. No distress signals, no survivors, no debris consistent with conventional attacks. Her XO, Commander Talik, approached with another datapad. His scaled skin reflected the blue glow of the displays, 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of distress in his species. The pattern analysis is complete, Admiral. There's a deliberate intelligence behind these disappearances. Vega nodded. She'd suspected as much. The Alliance had maintained peace among its 17-member species for over 8 centuries. Pirates occasionally raided outer colonies, but nothing on this scale. What about the transmission fragments recovered from Outpost Sigma? Talik hesitated. Our linguists are confused. Admiral, the patterns don't match any known language in the Alliance database, yet they contain syntactical structures that suggest. Suggest what, Commander? They're similar to reconstructed human language patterns. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Several crew members exchanged glances. Humans, Vega finally said. That's impossible. They've been extinct for nearly 4,000 years. Everyone knew the story. Earth, the human homeworld, had been destroyed when its sun unexpectedly went supernova, a tragic astronomical anomaly that wiped out an emerging spacefaring species before they could establish self-sustaining colonies beyond their system. The few thousand humans who had been off-world at the time eventually perished without their homeworld support, or so the historical records claimed. Play the recovered audio, Vega ordered. The ship's AI activated the main speaker system. At first, there was only static. Then a voice emerged. Neither male nor female, neither young nor old, speaking words in no known language, yet somehow comprehensible to everyone on the bridge. The debt remains unpaid. What was stolen must be returned. A chill ran through the bridge crew. The voice seemed to bypass normal auditory processing, implanting itself directly into their minds. How can we understand it? Talik asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. The ship's science officer, Dr. Kala, a Triskelion with tendriled limbs and compound eyes, approached the central console. It appears to be utilizing some form of neurolinguistic programming embedded within the sound waves themselves. It's not just speaking. It's communicating directly with our neural pathways. Technology far beyond our capabilities, Vega noted, and far beyond what humans possessed 4,000 years ago, Kala added. Vega turned to her communications officer, Contact Alliance Command. Request all historical archives related to humanity, especially any sealed records. Authorization Vega Prime Alpha. As the crew carried out her orders, Vega returned to studying the star charts where the outposts had gone silent. Something about the pattern seemed familiar, though she couldn't place it. 3 days later, the Celestial Aegis orbited the remains of Outpost Theta, the most recent Alliance installation to go silent. The massive space station had been reduced to twisted metal and floating debris. A research team in environmental suits moved methodically through the wreckage. Admiral, Dr. Kala's voice came through the comm. We found something unusual in what remains of the central computer core. Hours later, in the ship's secure conference room, Kala displayed her findings. The outpost's systems were compromised from within. Every screen, every communication device simultaneously displayed the same message moments before the destruction began. The holographic projection showed the message. Leave this sector. The stars belong to those who respect them. The attack that followed was surgical, Kala continued. Key systems specifically targeted while others remained intact. This wasn't random destruction. It was a message. Commander Talik frowned. The historical archives arrived from Alliance Command. There's A discrepancy. Explain, Vega said. According to general historical records, Earth's sun went supernova approximately 3,872 standard years ago, destroying the human homeworld. However, the sealed archives tell a different story. He displayed ancient documents, military assessments, and astronomical data. Earth's sun, designated Sol, was a G-type main sequence star. According to stellar physics, it should have remained stable for billions of years. There was no natural reason for it to go supernova. Are you suggesting the historical records were falsified? Vega asked. There's more, Talek continued. The sealed archives contain a tactical assessment from the early days of the Alliance. Apparently, humans were developing technology at an unprecedented rate. They went from primitive chemical rockets to rudimentary faster-than-light propulsion research within a single century. Dr. Kalla's compound eyes widened. That's evolutionarily impossible. No species develops that quickly. Humans did, Talek replied. The assessment concluded they represented a potential threat to the established order. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and extraordinarily resilient. Vega felt a growing unease. Are you suggesting the early alliance was responsible for the destruction of Earth? Before Talek could answer, the ship's eye interrupted. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations throughout the sector. Something is interfering with our systems. Every screen in the conference room flickered, then displayed the same message in Alliance Standard. 4,000 years of watching. Your ancestors feared what they did not understand. The judgment comes. The voice returned, filling the room despite no apparent source. We became what we needed to become. You believed us gone, yet we survived in the spaces between stars. We watched as you built your alliance on the ashes of our world. No more hiding. The reckoning begins. The message ended, leaving the conference room in stunned silence. All personnel to battle stations, Vega ordered, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her chest. Deploy sensor drones throughout the sector. I want to know what we're dealing with. As the crew rushed to carry out her orders, Vega accessed the ship's historical database. There, buried in ancient human military doctrine, she found something that made her blood run cold. When facing a technologically superior enemy with overwhelming numbers, conventional warfare ensures defeat. Instead, become a ghost. Let them believe you are destroyed. Watch. Learn. Survive. Strike only when necessary and in ways your enemy cannot comprehend. The sensor drones detected nothing conventional. No ships, no weapons platforms, no recognizable technology. Instead, they found something impossible: microscopic distortions in space-time itself, forming patterns too regular to be natural phenomena. They're everywhere, Dr. Kalla whispered, analyzing the data. Whatever they are, they've woven themselves into the fabric of space around us. Over the next week, 3 more Alliance outposts went silent. Each time, the same pattern: the ghostly voice, the warning, then surgical destruction. Alliance Command ordered a full retreat from the affected sectors, but Vega hesitated. Something in the pattern of attacks had finally clicked in her mind. She overlaid the locations of the destroyed outposts onto an ancient star chart. They're creating a boundary, she realized. These aren't random attacks. They're establishing a perimeter around a specific region of space. The region in question appeared empty on modern charts, a dead zone with no habitable planets, no resource-rich asteroids, nothing worth claiming or protecting. But on the ancient charts, there was a notation: Sol Extended Survey Zone. They're protecting something, Vega said, something connected to their homeworld. Against direct orders, Vega made her decision. The celestial Aegis would cross the boundary the invisible enemy had established. If humans had somehow survived for 4 millennia, hiding in the darkness between stars, she needed to understand how and why they had chosen now to reveal themselves. As the massive Alliance flagship altered course toward the restricted zone, the ghostly voice returned one final time. You seek understanding. This is commendable. Prepare to witness what you have denied for 4,000 years. The reckoning. The celestial aegis crossed the invisible boundary into the restricted zone, weapons primed, shields at maximum. Admiral Vega stood on the bridge, outwardly calm despite the tension gripping her crew. All sensors at maximum range, she ordered. Any sign of pursuit or hostility, we'd jump to FTL immediately. For 3 days, they encountered nothing unusual, just empty space, devoid of the microscopic space-time distortions they detected outside the boundary. Then on the 4th day, as they approached a seemingly unremarkable red dwarf star, the ship's sensors detected something impossible. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, her voice tight with confusion. "I'm reading a planetary body ahead, but it's not registering on the normal electromagnetic spectrum." Dr. Kalla rushed to the sensor station, analyzed the readings, then looked up with all 4 of her compound eyes dilated in shock. "It's phase shifted," she said, "existing slightly out of sync with our reality. That's why it doesn't appear on standard scans." The main view screen adjusted, revealing a planet where none should exist. A blue-green world orbiting the red dwarf star, partially transparent, as if only half real. "Is it Earth?" Commander Talek asked. Kalla shook her head. "Impossible. Earth was in a completely different star system." As they approached, the ship's communications array activated without command. A message appeared on all screens. "You have come seeking answers. Prepare to receive them." The ship's engines suddenly cut out. Before panic could spread, Vega felt a strange sensation, as if her consciousness was being gently pulled from her body. Around her, the bridge crew experienced the same phenomenon, their physical forms remaining at their stations while their minds traveled elsewhere. Vega found herself, or rather, a mental projection of herself, standing on the surface of the phase-shifted planet. Around her stood her senior officers, looking as solid as they would in reality despite knowing they were merely mental constructs. They stood in what appeared to be a vast, crystalline chamber. The walls pulsed with light that seemed alive, flowing in complex patterns that reminded Vega of neural networks. In the center of the chamber, a humanoid figure appeared, neither male nor female, composed entirely of light and shifting patterns. "Welcome to Sanctuary," the figure said, its voice the same one that had haunted the Alliance outposts. "I am the custodian, a representative of what remains of humanity." "What are you?" Vega asked. "We are what humans became when our existence was threatened," the custodian replied. "When your ancestors destroy our homeworld." Images appeared around them, historical records far more detailed than anything in the Alliance archives. They showed early Alliance scout ships observing Earth, assessing the rapidly developing human civilization, and finally, the deliberate engineering of a stellar catastrophe that consumed the planet. "Your ancestors feared what they did not understand," the custodian continued. "Humans evolved on a world of predators and constant change. We adapted quickly, solved problems creatively, developed technology at rates that frightened the established spacefaring species. But some survived," Vega said, piecing together the impossible truth. The custodian nodded. "A fraction of our population was off-world when the attack came. Not enough to fight back, but enough to implement what we called the Ghost Protocol, a contingency plan for extinction-level events." More images appeared, desperate humans on dying space stations and lunar colonies, making a final, desperate technological leap. "We couldn't save our bodies, but we could save our minds," the custodian explained. "We uploaded our consciousness into quantum matrices, becoming beings of pure information. We learned to exist in the substructure of space-time itself, watching, learning, evolving beyond the limitations of physical form." "For 4,000 years, Talek asked, incredulous. "Time means little when you exist as we do," the custodian replied. "We watched your alliance grow, spreading through the stars that should have been our birthright as well. We observed your species' development, your wars, your peace treaties. We waited, hoping your civilization would evolve beyond the fear and prejudice that led to our near extinction. Why reveal yourselves now? Vega asked. The custodian's form shifted, showing hints of anger beneath its serene appearance. Because your people began harvesting resources from what remained of our solar system, the graves of billions of humans. The outposts you established were built using materials salvaged from our final colonies, our last monuments. You desecrated what little was left of our physical existence. Vega felt a deep shame. The Alliance had always taught that respecting the remains of extinct civilizations was a sacred duty. Yet they had failed to extend that same respect to humanity, believing the destruction of Earth to be a natural disaster rather than a genocide. What do you want from us? She asked. Acknowledgement, the custodian said. Recognition of the crime committed against us. Return of the artifacts and resources taken from our system. And a place in your alliance, not as a forgotten tragedy, but as a living species with rights and representation. You've killed hundreds of Alliance citizens, Commander Talek protested. We disabled outposts built on sacrilege. The custodian corrected. We removed your presence from spaces sacred to us. The only casualties were those who resisted after warnings were given. Vega considered this. I don't have the authority to negotiate on behalf of the entire Alliance. We know, the custodian replied. That is why you are here, to witness, to understand, and to carry our message back to your leaders. The Alliance must acknowledge its founding sin and make reparations, or we will be forced to take more direct action. And if the Alliance refuses? Vega asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. The custodian's form expanded, briefly showing the vast complexity of the consciousness network it represented. Billions of human minds working in concert, wielding technology advanced beyond comprehension. We exist throughout the fabric of space-time. We can disable your ships, your stations, your communication networks with a thought. We have been patient for 4 millennia. That patience has limits. With those words, Vega and her crew found themselves back on the bridge of the celestial Aegis, the phase-shifted planet still visible on the view screen. Engine power restored, reported the engineering officer. All systems functioning normally. Admiral, the communications officer called out, I'm detecting a massive data transfer to our central computer. It appears to be historical records. Human historical records. Vega nodded grimly. Set course for Alliance headquarters. Maximum speed. Priority 1 diplomatic emergency. 3 weeks later, Admiral Vega stood before the Alliance Grand Council. Representatives of all 17 member species gathered in emergency session. She had presented the evidence, the historical falsification, the crime against humanity, and the ultimatum from beings who had transcended physical form. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some representatives called for military action against the human threat. Others advocated for immediate compliance with all demands. The debate raged for days. Finally, the High Chancellor called for silence. Admiral Vega, she said, you've had the most direct contact with these evolved humans. What do you recommend? Vega stood, facing the assembled representatives of the most powerful interstellar alliance known to exist. The humans could have destroyed us already if that was their intent, she said. Instead, they chose communication. They don't want war. They want justice. Recognition. A place among the stars that should have been theirs from the beginning. She activated a holographic display showing the phase-shifted planet. They've evolved beyond our comprehension, yet they still identify as human. They still care about their history, their artifacts, their legacy. I recommend we acknowledge the crime committed by our ancestors, return all materials harvested from human space, and offer them full membership in the Alliance. And if they use this acknowledgement as the first step toward taking control of the Alliance, asked one representative, then we will have confirmed their worst fears about us. Vega replied, that we are still guided by the same fear and prejudice that led to their near extinction millennia ago. The council deliberated for another day before reaching their decision. The Alliance would acknowledge the historical crime, make reparations, and extend an offer of membership to the evolved human consciousness. A month later, Admiral Vega stood again on the bridge of the celestial Aegis, leading a diplomatic mission back to the phase-shifted planet. This time, she was accompanied by the High Chancellor herself and representatives from each Alliance species. As they approached the boundary, the now familiar voice filled the ship. "You have returned, with truth this time." The High Chancellor stepped forward. "On behalf of the Alliance of Sovereign Stellar Nations, I formally acknowledge the crime committed against humanity by our ancestors. We offer our deepest apologies, full reparations, and membership in our alliance as equals." A moment of silence followed. Then the voice returned, somehow warmer than before. "After 4,000 years of solitude, we accept your offer. The age of hiding ends. The age of cooperation begins." The phase-shifted planet before them suddenly solidified, becoming fully present in their reality. And around it, previously invisible, a vast fleet of ships unlike any they had seen before, vessels that seemed partly physical, partly energy, designed by minds that had transcended conventional thinking. "Welcome back to the cosmic community," the custodian's voice said. "Humanity has evolved, but we have not forgotten what it means to be human. To forgive, to hope, to build something better than what came before." As the Alliance delegation prepared to transport down to the surface, Admiral Vega gazed at the impossible planet and the even more impossible civilization it harbored. Humans who had turned extinction into transcendence, who had watched from the darkness between stars for millennia, waiting for the right moment to return. The ghost of humanity had not only survived, it had evolved into something magnificent, and the stars would never be the same again.